right, guys, let's get into it. Right here, we have a beautiful 10-pound pork butt. Picked it up from Kroger. This right here is gonna be simple. I'm gonna show you exactly what we're gonna use on it. Of course, we have our Worcestershire right here in this squeeze bottle. I'm gonna use 2 rubs on it. I'm gonna use my party dust seasoning, my grilling dust seasoning, and of course, I'm going on some black pepper, and I'm also gonna cover it up really well with some coconut sugar as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. First things first, this right here is the fat cap. Most people will come in and cut the fat cap off so that the seasonings can get in contact with the meat. I'm not doing that. I actually want this fat cap to stay on there. It's not as thick. If it was pretty thick, then of course I would say trim it down some, but this one actually has been trimmed pretty nice from the grocery store, so there's really no need to mess with it. So if you wanted to also, you could go in and poke holes in it if you wanted to. You definitely want to clean them off. Make sure you get off all the little bones and shards and all that good stuff. But if you wanted to, you can go in and poke holes in it like this. If you wanted to, you know, if you feel like that's going to help you get the seasonings deeper into the meat. The one thing about pulled pork you have to realize is that the seasonings aren't going to penetrate the inside. So that's what's going to happen. You're going to get more flavor at the end after you pull it. And then I'll show you how to go back in and do a few things to it to really add some flavor to it. But anyway, enough talking. Let's get to it. I'm just going to hit it up real nice with some of this Worcestershire. You could use mustard. A lot of people use mustard. You could use olive oil, peanut oil, whatever you want to. I just happen to like Worcestershire, and I am going to poke it on this side. Try to get that, open up those pores a little bit. If you have some fat like this that you don't want, just come in and trim it. You'll see some pockets of fat on here. If you need to, just trim them up. This pork butt is full of fat, so you know, a lot of this fat you won't need. And generally on the pork butt, I'll clean it up a lot, because when you buy them from some of your Whole Food stores like Sam's Club, they aren't cleaned very well, so you'll have to go in and do a little trim work. This one actually is not that bad. So first things first, I'm gonna go on my grilling dust. Heavy coat. Again, this is a big piece of meat. It's gonna take a long time to cook, and everything that we're putting on here now is gonna contribute to the overall flavor profile inside the meat once we chop it up. So do not be afraid to go a little crazy with this seasoning. All right. Also, all right. Now, next up is my party dust. This is like a season all season. And I'm also gonna go a little heavy on this one as well. Okay. All right. Now I'm not gonna rub it in there. I'm simply gonna let this set up for about 10 minutes and let this meat absorb a lot of this seasoning. Okay. All right, next up after the seasoning, we wanna add our coconut sugar. I have it in a bag because my bag busts. And you wanna go on pretty heavy with this. This is gonna help you get that nice, in some parts of the country, they call it a little sugar cookie bark. But this is gonna help you get a nice, beautiful bark, man. Nice, beautiful bark. And it'll cut down on all that saltiness from those 2 rubs. Next up, a little black pepper. And we're gonna let this sit here for probably about 10 to 15 minutes. Let it absorb as much of the flavor and soak up as much of this flavoring as it can. Kind of sweat out a little bit. We'll flip it over and do the same thing on the fat cap. Y'all stay tuned. All right, just want to show you guys how it's starting to sweat a little bit. And you can see those seasonings are starting to really tack on to that meat. That's what you want before you flip it over and do the other side. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it flipped, and then we'll get it on the grill. All right, guys, this is what I'll be using today. Cowboy brand, all natural hardwood briquettes. Good stuff right here, man. It's gonna give you some good flavor. Has a little bit of wood inside the charcoal. Excellent stuff. All right, and like I say, same deal with the fat cap. Same deal with the fat cap. Hit it with your rubs. Nice little coat. Some black pepper. And of course, you want to come on top with the coconut sugar. And I kind of let it sprinkle. I kind of sprinkle it on there real good. Because this fat is not a lot of fat, so this fat cap is just gonna make some nice mixing when you start to chop up that pork. And that's it, y'all. On the pit it goes. Stay tuned. All right, guys, and just like that, we are on. My coals are down there. I'm gonna let this rock out for about 2 hours, then I'm gonna come back and check on it. I'm not gonna do anything to it for 2 hours. I want the bark to set up really nice. Yes, sir. Stay tuned. Guys, as you can see, my starting temperature is right around maybe about 310. I'm gonna get it all the way down to probably about 275. So what I've done is I've closed off my dampers a little bit, and that will help me get my temperature down. Yes, sir. Guys, another quick thing about temps. If you're gonna load your pit down with a lot of cold meat, say you wanna cook at 275. If you wanna cook at 275, you might wanna get your pit fired up to about 300. So once you put that cold meat in the pit, you'll fall back into 275. Whereas if you put that cold meat in a pit that's already 275 degrees, more than likely that pit's gonna drop down to probably about 200, 225, and then you'll be fighting to get it all the way back up again. So just a FYI, shoot for 25 to 50 degrees over your cooking temp, put your meat in, and then cut your dampers back and fall into your cooking temp. Yeah, boy. All right, y'all, after 2 hours, that's what we're looking at. I'm not gonna spritz it or anything. My rub is still a little wet, so I'm gonna continue to let it tack up, and then I'll come back and check in an hour. All right, guys, and now we are 4 hours in. Starting to pick up some bark, starting to pick up a nice little bark, a nice little crust. Let's touch it and see what we got. It's still a little wet, but it's not that wet. I think a lot of that is just fat. So this is what I'm gonna do. Coca-Cola, a little small can. I'm gonna base the pork butt with Coca-Cola. Not a lot. I'm gonna come out here every hour and do that. That's the first hour, and we at hour 4. Stay tuned. All right, y'all, hour number 5. She looking real good. Getting some good color. That Coca-Cola is starting to really pop with that coconut sugar. You can tell. I raised it up 1 level, and I'm just gonna hit it with a little more Coca-Cola. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. When I did competitions, I used to always hit my pork butt with a little Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is full of brown sugar, you know, it ain't gonna do nothing but help with the overall color. So, headed to hour 6. Stay tuned. All right, guys, and after 6 hours of Coca-Cola basting, that is what we are looking at. Beautiful, man. Let's see if we can. Oh yeah. So we're gonna let it keep on rocking and rolling. We're not gonna let the party stop here. We're gonna let it keep on going. And we may let it go for about another 2 hours. And then wrap it up. Yeah, boy. All right, let's see where we're sitting. This is the bone right here. So I don't wanna get over here. So I'm gonna temp it right here. We're at about 175. I usually take mine to about 195 and then walk its way up to about 200 degrees for pulled pork. And that right there is about 160. So we're gonna let it keep on rocking and rolling. I may wrap it, I may not. We'll see. All right, y'all, I'm officially 9 hours in. And look at that thing. Look how juicy it is up top. Sorry about that. That's a train in the background, but look at that thing, man. Look at the bark. Look how beautiful it is. Look at that mahogany color. That coconut sugar and that Coca-Cola going to town. So it's time for me to wrap it up. So let's take it on in and get it wrapped up. Then we're gonna put it right back on here. All right, let's give it a temp real quick, see where we stand. It's been on there 9 hours. And we've kind of hit the stall. It's still stalling out at about 155 in the center portion. If you come over here on the money muscle, about the same. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing wrapped up. All right, guys, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a two-prong approach. I'm gonna foil it at the bottom, but what I'm gonna do is take me a piece of butcher paper. I'm gonna foil it at the bottom, but what I'm gonna do with this butcher paper is I'm merely just going to tin it with the butcher paper. Just like this. Reason being, let me get this squeeze in there real good. Okay, stick it on there just a little bit. All right, I'm merely gonna just tint it with the butcher paper. I'm not gonna wrap it up totally in the butcher paper. And I don't wanna use foil to wrap it on top because I don't wanna mess up my bark. Wrap it around the sides to tint it, leave the foil within the pan so that I can catch all those good drippings. And in the smoker it goes. Let's go. All right, and just like that, we are done. 11 hours and 30 minutes later, we are done. Now keep in mind, I would have been done a lot quicker had I wrapped the whole thing up in foil and steamed it out. I would have been done probably like 3 hours ago, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to preserve my bark, and that's why I just wrapped it in butcher paper on the top and the sides and just lined the foil out, lined the pan out with foil. So I've already temped it. It was at 197. So a good pulled pork usually is about 200, anywhere between 195 and 200. So I'm just gonna let it rest for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because it's a big piece of meat, and we'll get into it. Stay tuned. Oh, I also have my vinegar sauce. I put the link to the recipe for this vinegar sauce that I do in the descriptions. And as you can see, it's already separated. So I'm gonna have to, I keep it on hand. All you gotta do is shake it and bring it right back to life. With this vinegar sauce goes perfect with this pulled pork. So y'all stay tuned, let's get into it. All right, guys, we're back. And it's been about 10 minutes. So let's go ahead and take this off. Go ahead and take our butcher paper off. Pick that up. And look at that. That dark, beautiful sugar cookie bark. Look at that. Look how soft it is. It looks like it's burnt. Trust me, it is not. This is bark heaven right here. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get into it. Good test to see if you did the pulled pork right is the bone. You can see the bone is coming right out. Look at that. That's what you want to see. If you did it right, you got it perfect, this will come out, and not only will it come out, it'll come out clean. So save that. You can put that in a pot of beans. All right, so as we get into the meat, we see that it's far from, people would say, oh, it's burnt. No, it's far from burnt, buddy. Look at that. Look at that smoke ring. Look at that beautiful smoke ring around that meat. Look how juicy it is. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that beautiful meat. Juicy, super juicy. You know, the aluminum foil usually presses out all the moisture. By using the butcher paper, it's actually helped to retain the moisture. So look at that. It's beautiful. All of that good bark, all you're gonna do is just break it up, pull it apart. And what I have here is a little bowl. It's too hot to use my hands, but what I like to do is just break it up, break that little bark up, put it in my little bowl. And man, you talking about some good pulled pork sandwiches. I mean, look at that. That is incredible. That is incredible. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some chopped up, or pulled rather, and we'll get to it. One thing you wanna do for sure is you wanna go through the pork once it cools down and you can handle it. And you wanna grab off the little pieces of fat that may just be lingering around. You definitely wanna try to clean it up as much as you can so you can get a nice clean piece. You wanna do that throughout the pork butt. But one thing about it is when you cook it right, all that stuff will come right off. But look at that. Look how juicy and tender that is. So let's get that. This right here, the horn muscle. Look at that. A muscle that usually dries out. You can clearly see that it's good and juicy. It's hot, but it's good and juicy. Look at that. Good moisture retention. So, let me go ahead and get some of this pulled. Oh, and before I forget, let me move this back over. Let's get into the top of it. Look at that. Dark bark sugar cookie. Beautiful pink meat inside. Super, super juicy. You can take that little bit of fat and just scrape it off. If you don't want to eat that, just scrape it off. Just scrape it off with your tongs. Try to scrape off as much of the fat as you can and just save the meat and that beautiful bark. Put it in your bowl. Look at that. That's how you cook a pork butt, folks. Look at it. Look how juicy it is. Look at it. Once you get down into it, beautiful smoke ring, beautiful bark. That's how you cook a pork butt. That's how you cook a pork butt. You come over here to your money muscle. You break that bark up. Look at that. When people are eating a good pulled pork sandwich, you want to make sure you get some of that bark in it. That bark is where all your seasonings and everything reside. All your seasons and flavor and smoke is right there on that bark. Oh man, come on man, get into it. That Coca-Cola and that coconut sugar is just caramelized real nice. Look at that, man. Look at that. Beautiful, y'all. So let me go ahead and pull this apart, put it in my bowl, and we'll taste. Well, I already been tasting, but we'll taste it again. All right, guys, and what you want to do, you're serving it on a party, man, just stick it right there on a beautiful cutting board. You've got all your delicious pulled meat. You've got the bark. Oh my God, look at that. Look at that. That's how your pulled pork should look. You should have pink, you should have some dark colors in there from the bark. And it's just beautiful, man. That's how you serve pulled pork. I'm just gonna go ahead and layer it all on here. This is how you serve pulled pork. Okay? And just take the last little bit and just, look at that. Just, oh man. That is beautiful. All you gotta do is throw some buns around there and you are good to go. Now, if you wanted to, what I usually do is I usually take some of my seasoning and I'll go back over it just a little bit and then take the sauce, my nice little vinegar sauce, take a few spoonfuls of it. Look at that, beautiful. Take a few spoonfuls of it and I'll go right on top of the pork like that. And just let it drip down. And that vinegar is gonna cut through that fat. It's not gonna cool your meat down like a traditional tomato-based sauce would. And it's just beautiful, man. So, I wanna thank y'all for joining me here at the Rollin' Grill. Good pulled pork, spring and summertime ready. And as always, good food, good vibes. Yeah, boy. Mm.